Hayward Podworks. 100 shows, one vision.
Our sources explain it all. For more information on upcoming shows or to suggest shows, email brianhayward2026@gmail.com. And now let's get into our show. Hayward Podworks is vision, deep dives into any topic.
So if you're one of the, millions of people now who've claimed that incredible freedom of working from home, you know the dream.
Oh, absolutely.
No commute, maximum flexibility, and, the real possibility of getting your work done in your pajamas. You earned it.
You really did. But there's this huge productivity paradox kind of built into that freedom.
Right.
Without some really rigorous discipline, you don't actually get that commute time back. You just end up trading it for constantly working late.
And that line between your office and your living room it blurs.
It completely blurs. You end up stressed. You're overwhelmed by this task list that never seems to shrink. And you're just failing to find any kind of work-life balance.
It really is the ultimate self-management challenge. But, okay, fear not. We've gathered a whole stack of sources that focus on 21 surprisingly actionable ideas.
Yeah. Strategies and hacks specifically for this WFH environment where, like you said, the border between work and life has it's vanished.
So our mission today is to do a deep dive into these 21 tips. We've organized them into 4, let's say, high leverage categories.
We have foundational mindset, the digital toolkit you need to sort of police your time, pure output efficiency, and then maybe the most critical of all, wellness and environment.
And we're going to distill the essential nuggets you need to regain control, maximize your value, and actually enjoy that WFH lifestyle you work so hard for.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this right away, starting with a core philosophy, how to tackle that monster to-do list. And the first principle is robust, memorable, and, a little stomach churning, it's called. Eat the frog.
Right. Thankfully, it's not about amphibians, but it does capture the essence of how we should prioritize. The whole idea comes straight from Mark Twain.
What was the quote again?
He famously said, "If it is your job to eat a frog, then you should do that first thing in the morning. If it is your job to eat 2 frogs, then you should eat the biggest, ugliest one first."
Which is fantastic life advice. But how does the WFH environment change the definition of what the frog actually is?
That's a great question.
Because in an office, the frog is usually that huge project with a massive deadline blinking in red. At home,
Yeah.
it feels a bit more ambiguous.
And that's the key WFH insight. The frog isn't just the hardest task. It's the one that creates the most emotional or mental resistance. So at home, that might be the difficult feedback call you need to schedule, or that complex, non-urgent analysis that you just keep pushing off because you know it needs 2 straight hours of deep, uninterrupted concentration.
So the strategy is twofold. 1, you tackle that biggest mental hurdle first thing while your energy and your resolve are at their peak.
And 2, by getting it done, you guarantee you've delivered the maximum value for the day before all the little administrative things can derail you.
The heavy cognitive load is just gone.
Exactly. You get rid of the psychological cost of dreading it all day. You know that no matter what else happens, you've already secured the most important win.
So that's the big, ugly change. Now let's pivot from that massive priority to the tiny, almost invisible changes.
Which brings us to the philosophy of Kaizen.
Kaizen.
What's so fascinating is that it's a Japanese term, and it's rooted in manufacturing, in process improvement. It just means making lots of small incremental changes, the power of incrementalism.
To see a big cumulative benefit over time.
Right. It's all about optimizing those little friction points, which, let's be honest, are everywhere in a home office setup.
And the source material had this great, really tangible WFH example about computer startup time that it really clicked for me.
Okay, let's break down the math on this because it's pretty stark.
Right.
Say your computer takes 5 minutes to boot up and get all your essential apps loaded.
Okay.
You do this twice a day, once in the morning, maybe once after lunch.
Right.
That's 10 minutes lost every day, which adds up to 200 minutes of just unproductive waiting time over a typical work month.
Now, if you spend just 1 hour, say, installing a pretty cheap solid-state hard drive or just optimizing your startup programs, and you get that boot time down to 2 minutes.
Well, now you've gained 6 minutes a day. Suddenly, you're only losing about 56 minutes a month. You've just reclaimed nearly 3 full hours of working time.
From one tiny one-time tweak.
That is the power of Kaizen right there. You're just optimizing that administrative friction.
Wait, 200 minutes down to 56 minutes? That is a gigantic difference from a change that took, what, an hour to implement?
An hour, maybe.
It absolutely proves that productivity isn't just about grinding harder. It's about optimizing. And speaking of optimizing, we have to bring up the 80-20 law, the Pareto principle.
The 80-20 rule is a classic, of course. It states that 80% of your meaningful results will come from only 20% of your work.
But for the knowledge worker at home, this rule kind of needs a WFH filter, doesn't it?
It really does.
I think we're all guilty of confusing busy with effective, and this law just challenges that directly. So what does 80-20 look like when your office is also your kitchen table?
It means the biggest threat to your high-value 20% are all those little activities that feel important but are actually just administrative noise.
Like what?
For the WFH professional, that 80% of wasted time often comes from micro-distractions. Constantly checking Slack messages, writing overly detailed internal emails, or jumping on those low-priority optional meetings.
So the key is to be aggressive about identifying and blocking that noise, which means you have to proactively manage your team's expectations about your availability.
Something that's much easier to hide when you're physically in an office.
And if we connect this all together, Eat the Frog is really about identifying and executing that critical 20% right at the start of your day.
Precisely. You're protecting the space you need for your frog.
Okay, we're still in the mindset zone. We need 2 quick tactical rules before we move on to the digital toolkit. First up, the 1-minute rule.
The rule is always complete a task immediately if it will take less than 1 minute. Simple, right?
Simple, yet, I imagine, critical for managing cognitive load.
That's the whole goal. You're removing that item from your mind so it stops hanging over you, causing that low-grade stress. It's a clean sweep for small administrative burdens.
Like replying yes to an email or approving an expense.
Exactly.
That sounds great for shrinking the to-do list, but doesn't the 1-minute rule also encourage you to keep breaking your deep workflow for tiny little tasks? What did the source say about the cost of that disruption?
That's a really important point. The sources differentiate between deep work, which needs a full flow state, and what they call administrative maintenance. The 1-minute rule should only be applied during scheduled admin blocks.
Or after a deep work session is done.
Right. If you're deep in your high-value 20%, you should have notifications off. You save all those 1-minute tasks for the next defined break.
Excellent nuance. And second, the structured approach, the Pomodoro technique.
Right. Using set timers for intense focus, usually 25 minutes, and then set timers for mandatory breaks.
The structure here seems to be the real innovation, not the timing itself.
It is. It ensures you get a break, which acts as a really powerful commitment device. Knowing exactly when that rest is coming removes the urge to procrastinate, which makes the focus part feel much more manageable.
It's a defined, guaranteed window of rest that prevents burnout.
Yep.
So if we have the philosophy straight, the next big WFH challenge is that borderless digital environment.
Yep.
We need tools to police our time.
And defeat distraction.
Let's talk about the digital toolkit, starting with visibility and accountability. First tool we looked at is Rescue Time.
Rescue Time is an app designed to monitor exactly how much time you spend on each application or website during the day. This taps into that fundamental principle. That which is monitored improves.
And I think this is where we often trick ourselves, right? We think we spend an hour on that critical task.
But in reality, you spent 40 minutes on non-essential emails or just clicking between tabs. Rescue Time gives you the objective truth.
When you see the hard data on where your time is actually going, you get immediate control over how to spend it differently.
It's the data-driven accountability partner you didn't know you needed.
Okay, moving from monitoring time to capturing information. The next tool has been described as a true second brain, Notion.
Notion is. It's an extremely powerful, very flexible environment for note-taking and project management. The key is that it adapts to you rather than forcing you into a rigid template.
So what makes it so much more than just a glorified word processor?
It's versatility. You can create structured databases, web pages, tables, checklists, embed images, videos, all in the same place.
I see.
So if you're researching a project, tracking a budget, and taking meeting notes, Notion can synthesize all those different streams into one organized location.
So you're reducing the cognitive load of switching contexts.
You are externalizing your memory and your organizational burden.
Okay, let's talk about defeating the perennial WFH enemy, digital distraction. Our sources highlight two specific high-leverage tools here. The first is an app called Freedom.
Freedom is pretty straightforward. It's a digital fence. It lets you block specific apps and websites, social media, news sites.
Across all your devices.
Across all your devices during your designated work periods. It just removes the temptation entirely. It forces you to stay on task.
And the second tool is a bit surprising, but it's perfectly suited for the WFH environment, the Apple Watch.
It is surprisingly powerful for productivity because it lets you decouple your notifications from your phone, which is your main distraction portal.
Right.
You can get essential alerts like an urgent client email on your wrist, which means your phone can stay firmly in your pocket, or even better, in another room entirely.
I see the genius in that. The smartphone is the gateway to the internet rabbit hole.
Exactly. Keep it away, and you localize the notifications to the least distracting device possible. Plus, you can easily add and see your to-do items right there, so your tasks are always available without the risk of pulling out the phone.
And finally, on the to-do list side of things, we have Todoist.
Todoist is a great to-do app, but its standout feature is its natural language engine.
How does that work?
If you think, call John about the budget tomorrow at 3 p.m., you can just speak or type that normally, and the app instantly understands the time, date, and task.
And it just files it correctly?
It files it correctly. This just reduces the friction of logging that important thought the second it pops into your head.
Excellent. So we have the mindset, we have the apps. But this next challenge is, it's highly relevant for anyone generating a lot of output of our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move into output efficiency.
WFH productivity so often means writing emails, data entry, reports, code. Our ultimate output is literally limited by how fast we can physically type.
And that's a massive, often unrecognized bottleneck for a lot of professionals.
It is. The goal is to reach that point where you're typing at the speed of thought. That could just drastically upgrade your daily output capacity, especially for drafts and high-volume communication.
And this often starts with the equipment.
It does. For the best ROI, if you're spending 8 hours a day at a keyboard, you should really look into a comfortable mechanical keyboard.
Why mechanical specifically?
It all comes down to tactile feedback and precision. Now, Bigger keys can help you avoid errors, but you also have to be careful not to use a keyboard that's too large.
Because your fingers have to travel further.
Exactly, and that slows you down. It's a spatial optimization problem balanced against how the keys feel.
What about finger placement? We've all been taught the standard home row, but is there an ideal for maximum speed?
Well, the core home row thumbs on the space bar, fingers on A, S, D, F and J, K, L, semicolon, that's the recognized standard. But the key takeaway from the sources isn't the specific letters, it's the emphasis on consistency and return.
Always returning your fingers to the home row without looking.
To ensure minimum travel time,
Yeah.
yes.
Now for the fun part, practice. Because let's face it, boring, repetitive tutorials rarely stick.
They don't.
We need ways to make typing practice enjoyable.
One great example from the source material is the game The Typing of the Dead. It gamifies the whole process. It's an actually fun computer game that makes you type quickly and accurately under pressure.
As opposed to those dull tutorial interfaces that we all abandon after 10 minutes.
Right. And for convenient, regular, low-stakes practice that doesn't feel like work, journal writing in the evenings.
That's a great one.
It's an excellent way to practice consistently. You're already processing your day, and it makes the typing feel meaningful and personal, not like a chore.
So this brings us to the radical choice. For the hyper-efficient among us, we have to address the Dvorak challenge.
Dvorak is an alternate keyboard layout. It was intentionally designed to be more efficient than the traditional QWERTY layout we all use.
Why so?
It moves the most commonly used English keys like vowels and frequent consonants to the home row to minimize finger movement.
I know it's popular with coders and high-volume writers, but isn't the learning curve absolutely brutal? You're unlearning decades of muscle memory.
Oh, it is. It's a significant challenge, takes months of dedicated practice, and the evidence on its ultimate speed benefit over QWERTY is mixed.
Some swear by it, others find the cost of switching just too high.
But for the listener who's interested in that radical long-term efficiency, it's an option to explore, as long as they accept that initial productivity dip.
That's a pure Kaizen strategy taken to its extreme. A huge upfront investment for a hypothetical long-term gain.
Exactly.
Okay, moving swiftly into our final and I think most critical segment, environment, health, and fitness. The ultimate productivity hack.
Because if you don't have the sustained energy and focus, none of the other tips matter.
Not at all. Let's start with optimizing the physical workspace at home.
When you work from home, your office has to be designed for seamless workflow. We can borrow the concept of a work zone, a term from kitchen design, and apply it here.
So it means creating a space where everything you need is easily reachable without having to stand up or stretch too much.
Right. It eliminates wasted movement, and it reduces the temptation to wander off on some detour.
And beyond just pure efficiency, the space should feed your motivation.
Absolutely. Fill your office with things that inspire you about your work awards, prototypes, books, visual reminders of your mission. It makes the work inherently motivating. You don't have to convince yourself to stay at a desk that already excites you.
Let's talk about nature. I was surprised by the emphasis in the sources on bringing nature into the office, starting with something as simple as a houseplant.
A plant introduces something natural into what can be a very sterile digital environment. And crucially, a plant can stimulate the release of feel-good hormones, specifically serotonin.
Which has been shown to improve creativity and focus by helping us mentally relax.
It's a tiny passive form of Kaizen for your well-being.
But the sources are clear that nothing beats the real thing. Getting outdoors.
Oh, spending time outdoors is absolutely crucial for the WFH worker. It does triple duty. First, it boosts sleep quality. Second, it increases vitamin D, which is vital for regulating hormones related to focus, energy, and metabolism.
And
Third, fresh air and greenery directly boost creativity and help prevent seasonal affective disorder, or SAD.
so while the sources mention things like daylight lamps or desk plants as alternatives,
They're substitutes. Nothing beats the holistic effects of real, natural light and fresh air. It's the highest leverage adjustment you can make to your focus hormones.
finally we have to touch on exercise and sleep hygiene, especially since we've lost that natural movement of a daily commute.
Exercise is so important for undoing the damage of sitting all day. We need to talk about active metabolic rate, or AMR.
Explain that.
AMR is the energy you burn just moving around, walking to the train, fetching coffee, going to the printer. When you lose the commute, that rate drops drastically.
Which makes unwanted weight gain and energy slumps almost inevitable unless you counter it.
Precisely. So, what type of exercise is most effective? The sources highly recommend steady-state cardio running, cycling, brisk walking.
Why that specifically?
It strengthens the heart, which is critical for preventing early mortality associated with desk work. And it increases your AMR for the rest of the day, neutralizing the health hazards of being sedentary.
So exercise is about neutralizing the desk job, but sleep is about maximizing tomorrow's energy. What are the key hacks for the WFH sleeper?
Keep it simple. Avoid working near where you sleep to maintain that psychological boundary. Keep the room dark, quiet, and a little cool.
But the critical chemical hack here is about the cortisol-melatonin balance right before bed.
Let's explain that clearly, because this is where WFH discipline so often fails.
Please do.
For at least 30 minutes before you try to sleep, you must avoid light-emitting devices, especially your phone. The blue light from those screens signals to your body, it's daytime, stay awake and alert.
And this stimulates the release of cortisol, the stress hormone.
Right. And at the same time, that light actively dampens the production of melatonin, which is your natural sleep hormone.
So it's a chemical recipe for guaranteed poor sleep and low energy the next day. You are literally confusing your body into staying awake when it needs to be shutting down.
Exactly. Avoiding the phone for that crucial 30 minutes is arguably the single highest leverage point in optimizing your entire WFH health.
That brings us to the end of our deep dive into these 21 ideas. And they really span from strategic planning like eat the...
If you could only implement one change today to directly regulate your focus and energy hormones, a single minute-long intervention that you can sustain every day, would you focus that effort on maximizing natural light exposure during your main workday hours or strictly optimizing your sleep temperature tonight? Think about where your highest leverage Kaizen effort lies right now.
Hayward Podworks. 100 shows, one vision.
All right, this is Hayward Podworks, and that's today's episode. If this helped you, do me a favor, hit follow, leave a quick rating, and share it with one person who'd get value. Want the extras, links, and new drops? Check the show notes. Until next time, stay sharp, stay consistent, and keep building. Hayward Podworks. We'll talk soon.